Welcome, everyone, to the April 29th, 2019 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. And I'd like to ask Brad, please, to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm Barb Lewis, President. To my left is Commissioner Jeff Benton, our Vice President. To my right, fellow Commissioner Gary Merrill, our Administrator Mike Fromer, and our Clerk Jennifer Walraven. We can begin.
Resolution number 19-383 in the matter of approving electronic record of proceedings from regular meeting held April 25th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-383. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We do not have any public comment today, so that brings us to item number 3, resolution number 19-384 in the matter of approving a retirement proclamation for Powell Chief of Police Gary Best.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
I'll just make the comment. Gary's been police chief down there for a number of years and done a fantastic job. And I'll be privileged to attend the event, the retirement event later this week, and read the proclamation. And he'll be missed in Powell.
Oh, he certainly will.
Yeah, he's done a really nice job for, it says 23 years, as chief of police in Powell and 4 decades in law enforcement. And a whole bunch of leadership roles, new community initiatives that they've done in Powell to make it, just add to the special place that Powell is and so on. So I also would like to congratulate him. It's a career well served.
Yes, and he remains such a leader too, and he's a wonderful guy. I'm going to be there too on Wednesday, May 1st, when at his retirement party. But yeah, I'm proud to vote for this proclamation.
Mm-hmm.
Vote.
Vote on motion 19-384. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-385 in the matter of a retirement proclamation for Jack Sudamak, Delaware County Coroner's Investigator.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Do we have Jack? No? Okay. Oh, a humble man. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I'd like to thank Jack very much for his service too. He's always got a smile and very hard worker, a great guy.
Yeah.
I think it says it all.
Yeah, I agree.
Very,
Congratulations to Jack.
Yes.
Always got
Yeah,
a-
he is. Yeah.
very positive attitude, and he'll be missed.
Yes. And vote.
Vote on motion 19-385. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-386 in the matter of approving purchase orders and announced certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CM APR 0426 and memo transfers in batch number MT APR 0426.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-386. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-387 in the matter of approving travel expense requests.
So moved.
Discussion.
Vote on motion, sorry.
Sorry. That's fine.
Vote on motion 19-387. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Yeah, aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-388 in the matter of setting date and time and for viewing and public hearing for consideration of the Lynette Lane subdivision drainage improvement petition filed by Lisa and others.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-388. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
That brings us to Mr. Stover, and he is a partnership specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau out of the Philadelphia region, and he's going to give the board a briefing on the 2020 census.
Great. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank
My name is
you.
Chad Stover. I'm a partnership specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau. We are out of the Philadelphia region. However, I live here in Delaware.
Oh,
So
good.
I am your partnership specialist.
Oh, all right.
Good.
I cover both Delaware as well as Marion counties. The reason I'm here today is just to give you an update on the 2010 versus 2020 census, and then to go into, you've already passed the proclamation on April 1st, which appointed Scott as the leader for the Complete Count Committee. And It just so happens that the 1st of April was exactly 1 year out from the census. So great job there. I appreciate that. So first of all, why did we even conduct the census? Article 1, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution mandates it. But it goes into congressional apportionment, first thing. We all know that's extremely important. The last time Ohio lost 1 seat in the House of Representatives, so we want to prevent that from happening again. Additionally, it goes into redistricting, which we all know within the county. And then the third thing is $675 billion of federal funds are distributed based on the decennial 2020 census. So that goes into school lunches. It goes into Head Start, those programs that are federally funded within the county that every person needs to be counted to ensure that we as a county get that funding. So the goals, first of all, it's to count everyone once, only once, and in the right place. And to make sure we're counting those people that are in Delaware. That way, there's an accurate count of the population within Delaware County. So what's new with the 2020 census? First of all, we're utilizing what worked in 2010, which is putting out through news, regular media, TV, and radio. However, we all understand that social media has taken on a large part of the way we get information out to people. So we're utilizing social media. We're using Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. So you name it, the U.S. Census Bureau has a message out there. And we also have generated messages that we will send to communications directors, and you insert county here and send it out. That we're all putting out the same message and a positive message about the census itself. This year, or correction, 2020, we're doing an internet self-response, which is different than we've ever done in the past. We went to the short form in 2010, and then 2020, what we're doing is we're encouraging people to use the internet self-response. It's extremely new. We all understand that sometimes there's a little bit of distrust out there in the internet, but we need to make sure that we portray the correct thing, which is it is a secure means of submitting your census. And what will happen is an individual will receive a card at their house. That card will have a barcode and a number at the bottom. It goes to a residence. That person who lives at that residence can go online at that point, put that code in, and fill out their census form. That will occur, they'll start being sent out around the 12th of March of 2020. The 23rd, the site will open up to be able to do your census. You'll receive 2 reminders after that via card. The individual, once they put their information in about who lives at that residence, then they're complete with the census at that point. If they don't do this, then the first part of April, they will start receiving the short form. That short form will come to their house, and they have 2 possibilities of filling it out at that point. One is via phone, so they can call in if they don't feel secure in sending their information, and then they can also fill out the form itself. If they still have not responded, that's the part that we all link with the census, which is someone coming and knocking at your door. That will occur after the 1st of May of 2020. So additionally, what's new? The people will not walk around with forms. They walk around with a smartphone or a tablet. They take your information, they send it, and it's done. So now your information is extremely secure in the fact that it's sent and then it's out of that person's hands. So the personal identifiable information that may be contained is already at a secure server by the time it's completed. So what you have done by passing a proclamation is forming a complete count committee. The complete count committee is our way of motivating people. It worked at a larger level in 2010, so additional partnership specialists have been hired this year for 2020 census. We're getting down to the counties, to the municipalities that are much smaller to be able to get the information out there. What the Complete Count Committee does is it's more of a neighbor-to-neighbor type program. It forms a committee of individuals from faith-based organizations, from nonprofit organizations, schools, from the Chamber of Commerce and other places. And the reach that that committee has is enormous. And to be able to get out to the community and the people that do not want to respond to the census. Here in Delaware, downtown Delaware, the low response score is about 22.8%, which means 22.8% of the people based off of 2010 data and the American Community Survey which went from 2012 to 2016, the data that we pulled, states that 22.8% will not respond to the census in 2020. So what we need to do is shrink that gap. How do we do it? It's through outreach. And by you passing the resolution, what it has done is allowed for that outreach to grow. And I'll work with Scott. I cannot be part of the committee, however, I am the liaison to the Census Bureau. So any questions he has, I will be at all of his meetings if I'm invited, and we'll make sure that we do a successful 2020 decennial census.
Boy, thank you. That, your explanation too is really timely. The whole, just running through the process and knowing how thorough it is and the importance, not only for redistricting, but for the monies then that are given from the census.
And ma'am, in the state of Ohio, that $675 billion for each person that's missed, according to the George Washington Institute,
really?
it's $1,814 per person that is missed per year.
Really?
And then you span that over 10 years during the decade. So $18,140 per person that is missed if that person is not counted.
Per year, you said, yeah.
$1,814 per year, yes. Now, if you take that to an entire household that does not respond, 4, 6 people in a household, it just continues to multiply.
Boy. Any comments?
I'll just make the comment I made before, because I think it's important. It's extremely important that the Supreme Court rule favorably on the citizenship issue. Otherwise, we're going to have states like California who will have probably a representative more than they should have if they include non-citizens in that total count. So my perspective is this is extremely important to get a good count, but there should be a distinction between citizens and non-citizens for the reasons for how we're going to be represented as a state, and other states are going to be represented as well. So my comment on that. And the Supreme Court's going to decide that hopefully in June.
Yes, sir. Because our ballots go to print in July, so.
Yes, yeah. That's
Correct.
good.
Do I have any other questions from the commissioners?
Very helpful, very.
Thank you very much for your
Yeah.
time, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We don't need, do we vote?
Nope, that was
We
just
don't
a
need to vote
presentation, no
on
vote.
We've already voted. Okay, thank you.
That brings us to item number 9, resolution number 19-389, in the matter of declaring personal property obsolete, unfit, or not needed for public use, and the intent of selling such property via internet auction or disposal of property of no value.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion, vote. Whoa, oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Shaw with the Record Center. I am requesting to place the AMS 300 industrial shredder that is being stored at the Record Center on the internet auction site. We have a newer shredder, AMS 500, which is more of a cross cut. This is a long strip, wide cut, and the security level on it is a 1, and I would recommend putting that on the site.
Okay, any questions? Vote.
Vote on motion 19-389, Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Resolution number 19-390, in the matter of amending the Child Placement Services contract between the Delaware County Department of Job and Family Services, the Delaware County Board of Commissioners, and the Department of Mental Health, Eastway Corporation.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bobby Anderson with Job and Family Services. We are just amending the contract to add $45,000 to get us through anticipated costs through June. We did have 2 children placed with Eastway. Currently, we have one at just over $7,100 per month for that child.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 19-390, Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution number 19-391, a resolution to enter into a non-binding memorandum of understanding with the Delaware County Finance Authority, the Board of Trustees of Berlin Township, and various property owners of Berlin Township for the development of the Berlin Business Park.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
Bob Lamb, Economic Development Director. Commissioners, before you is a request to approve a non-legally binding MOU agreement between Delaware County Finance Authority, Berlin Township, property owners, as well as the county. This is a move to bring forward the Delco Ready program. We'd announced the program during the State of the County address this year. This is really taking the success of Creekside and enhancing it and moving forward by working with local communities and property owners to put in place zoning, incentives, and other critical components that are needed to upfront highlight commercial property within the county and to hopefully be able to diversify our tax base by bringing in those commercial properties and steer significant portions of land away from single-family home development into more of a commercial nature. Be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I think it's intended to necessarily discourage residential development, just making sure it's not done in an area that's better served by commercial development.
Correct. It's
And,
to hopefully diversify that land.
So I just want to say congratulations to you and the trustees in Berlin, Finance Authority, and all the other people that have been involved in putting this together. The goal is to create jobs for our county, quality jobs for our county. So.
Thank you. And Rob Platt from my office has really been leading this effort and has done an incredible job, especially at the last public meeting where he led about a 20-minute overview of it and then answered questions for over an hour with the public.
That's great. Delco Ready, again, means?
It's really a site preparedness program. So what we're seeing from the private commercial world is that they want sites that are ready to go. They don't want to have to wait on zoning. They don't want to wait through an incentive process or all the different analysis that's needed. This program will take care of those issues up front, making it easier for companies to make the decision to choose to invest here in Delaware County.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, just a couple of comments. You and I have had numerous conversations about this. I think this is just a huge step forward for Delaware County and the residents and the businesses and so on. So I also would like to compliment you and your team and Berlin Township and all the participants who are part of this, because it takes sewer, and we've got a sewer plant that's going in that's going to serve this area. So that's a big key. The water is set, the electricity and other utilities are either ready or nearly ready. So again, it takes a lot of people to get this effort ready, and we've had so much success with Creekside that having true shovel-ready sites is really important. Plus, we want to, another big part of this is we want to provide better balance of commercial and residential property taxes. And this is a huge step forward to do that, because we've got, I think, the lowest commercial base in the state percentage-wise, if I'm not
Yes.
correct. Yeah. So this would go a long ways toward, adjusting that balance to be less dependent on residential taxes. So again, I think it's great. We've talked about this is going to be professional, like medical offices, light industrial manufacturing, those sorts of projects.
Yeah, that's definitely our hope, to attract those type of employment opportunities that would better meet our demographic criteria. Also, though, we do expect some of those neighborhood commercial type uses to go in just for the convenience of those residential units that are developed in the surrounding area. I think one of the great things about this program is it's not the county stepping forward to be the land developer. It's us taking significant steps to make it easier for the land developers to make the investments and do the projects.
Yeah, and the Finance Authority is stepping up by investing in some upfront services, as you mentioned before.
Yes, the Finance Authority has already approved $25,000 for upfront costs. And we will be looking to go back to them. They have had conversations on up to $250,000 being made available to move this program forward successfully.
Yeah, so congratulations and thanks to the Finance Authority for their investment in this project. So again, great work.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Rob, who's here.
Yeah, there he is.
He's here. And this is just west of Alum Creek, correct?
Yeah, the large land area that
Park.
we're looking at will be east of the city of Delaware, really the railroad tracks over by the Kroger facility, moving all the way to just short of the 71.
So it's further east than,
Yep, it's really that land area in between city of Delaware and 71 is that
okay.
we're focusing on at this time.
both north and south of 36, 37.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Great work for on everyone's part. Vote?
Vote on motion 19-391, Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Mr. Merrill.
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution number 19-392, in the matter of approving the sanitary sewer subdividers agreement for Hawks Nest at Highland Lakes.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Morning, Commissioners. Tiffany Mag, Director of Environmental Services. This is a standard sanitary sewer subdividers agreement for 30 condos located at the southwest corner of Worthington Road and Big Walnut Road in Genoa Township, and we request your approval.
Okay. Vote?
Vote on motion 19-392, Mr. Merrill.
Aye.
Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis.
Aye.
Resolution number 19-393, in the matter of certification of delinquent accounts to the county auditor for accounts to be assessed to payable year 2020 taxes.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
So as you know, we certify our accounts once they are more than 90 days past due and exceed $25. So for this quarter, we have $149,377.36, which is 4.62% of our accounts, which is right in line, just a little under what we typically see for our quarterly delinquencies.
Okay. Vote?
Vote on motion 19-393, Mrs. Lewis.
Aye.
Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Mr. Merrill.
Aye.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Resolution number 19-394, in the matter of approving wide-array work permit summary sheet.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Good morning, Commissioners. Rob Riley, Chief Deputy Engineer. We have just 4 pretty typical right-of-way work permits for utility installation, and we're recommending your approval.
Okay. Vote?
Vote on motion 19-394, Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Mr. Merrill.
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis.
Aye.
Resolution number 19-395, in the matter of approving a contract of sale and purchase between James R. Shearing and Jan L. Shearing and the Board of Delaware County for Dell CR 13-1.65.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
This is one of the required right-of-way parcels for the Worthington and Africa Road intersection improvements. We've negotiated a settlement with the property owner and recommend approval of this.
Okay. Vote?
Vote on motion 19-395, Mr. Merrill.
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis.
Aye.
Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolution number 19-396, a reconvening of public hearing for consideration of petition from the Board of Berlin Township Trustees requesting vacation of Township Road 123A in Berlin Township, Delaware County, under Special Procedures of Revised Code 5553.045.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 19-396. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-397, in the matter of approving for a specific occurrence a suspension of Rule 3, speaker registration, Rule 4, limitations, and Rule 7, public comment procedures from the rules governing public comment before the Board of Commissioners of Delaware County, Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 19-397. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the hearing. There's a sign-in sheet circulating, and we'd ask that anyone who is participating in the discussion today sign that sheet. And first, let's have either Rob, our assistant, or our deputy engineer, or else we have our county engineer here too, just to restate the findings of the engineer's report by reading the report in full or summarizing the findings, whichever you prefer.
I would, good morning, Chris Boserman, County Engineer. I'd prefer to summarize the findings.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
For your sake, if
Thank
nothing
you.
else.
Yeah.
I first apologize, your previous hearing that you continued till today. I was out of town, couldn't be here, so thank you for your understanding of that. The bottom line of our report is an analysis of whether, a determination of whether the existing road right-of-way continues to serve a public purpose, whether it's any benefit to the county at this point or would be in the future. And it's my opinion that it does not serve a public purpose today, and I can't foresee any purpose that would continue to serve in the future. And so that's really the bottom line from our standpoint at the engineer's office. So if you have questions,
Okay.
if you'd like to explore and all that, I'll be glad to do that, but that's the most succinct summary I can provide you.
Okay. Any questions from the board at this time?
I don't think so at this time.
Yeah.
I may have a
Okay.
question later.
Okay. We'll hear then from all those in favor of the petition. And I will swear you in, too. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. If you could just state your name and address.
Certainly. I'm Connie Klima, P.O. Box 991, Pataskala, Ohio 43062. I represent the owners of the property adjacent, both on the north and south of this portion of Hyatt's Road that is to be hopefully vacated.
Okay, thank you.
I was not available at the last hearing where Mr. Shade spoke, and I'm here now, of course, to respond to any questions, and hopeful that you will approve the vacation as the trustees have requested. This part of the right-of-way that's being requested for vacation is totally on the property owned by AAT. It is, and it goes up to and is adjacent to the north the north right-of-way line that your county engineers have on their maps and have actually determined how it needs to be addressed now in those improvements. We are not affecting anything in the right-of-way. The right-of-way is totally on our property, and obviously, the dead-ended street there has no particular use for the public anymore because it only serves two properties, which are ours, both of ours. So we will then, after that, have access to the right-of-way at the right-of-way line from our property, which is required and permitted under the code, and we have no other issues with it. I'm aware that Mr. Shade brought up some issues, but I do not believe there are any issues whatsoever that have anything to do with our vacation of right-of-way, and I can answer those questions if you have those. But everything that is in the right-of-way, as you know, is a right-of-way by easement. The county has an easement over private properties for public use and private use of everybody adjacent to that property. So everyone driving over Hyatt's Road right now drives over people's property, but has a public right to do so because the county has easements as are identified in your maps and your engineered plans. And anything or question that Mr. Shade or any property owner has regarding land that is within that right-of-way should not come to the adjacent property owners because it's not our business. It's the county's business, what is inside of those right-of-ways and whether or not certain compensations were made. So when I was aware and watched the session, my biggest concern was that it was brought up by Mr. Shade that AAT Properties should be paying his client for property that is located within the right-of-way. No property owner has to pay for the property within the right-of-way. The county has taken care of that either through some type of an action when they got the easement originally or created this road. So I'm looking forward to hearing what Mr. Shade has to say, and then I would like to be able to address any questions from that. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions yet? We'll continue. Anyone else who is in favor of the petition? Who would like to speak? Okay. We will hear from those opposed to the petition, and I will swear you in.
Sure.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. And I will be truthful. I want to make it clear.
Oh, just need to give your name.
Michael R. Shade, I'm an attorney at law, and I represent the property owners to the west and to the south of this project in the area of the vacation. I want to make it clear, we're not opposed to the vacation within their property. The problem is that the vacation ends at their property line. My client's property takes over at that point. I have spent a great deal of time over the last 2 weeks, and particularly this weekend, reviewing the history of the properties in this area. there was a deed reference, or a reference on the drawing prepared by by Delaware County regarding this property, and specifically what is now known as the Hyatt's Columbus Pike property. There was an easement taken in deed book volume 255, page 417. That was done back in 1963. That ended at the west line of that Hyatt's Columbus Road property. My client owns that. The same owner of 124 Hyatt's, 130 Hyatt's, and Hyatt's Columbus Pike and 123 Hyatt's, while being all in different LLCs, the person behind that is, it's a trust, and the trust is the single owner of all those properties. In reviewing, this Hyatt's Road goes back to 1908. In 1908, I have the drawing that was filed of record. Hyatt's Road was above the lot line splitting Orange Township, Berlin Township. And everything on Hyatt's Road lied above that roadway, or above the properties that my client owns on the south. In 1963, I'm sorry, in 1963, Naomi Dempsey, the mother of the current trustee of the property, granted an additional 5-foot easement on each side of the roadway. At that time, she was not in ownership of 123, or 124 and 130 Hyatt's Road, but on the south side, she agreed to a 5-foot additional easement.
Mike, I'm going to interrupt you. Was she paid for that, or is that just?
I have no idea. It was the deed, she signed the deed, it was witnessed and filed in Delaware County. So that was on the 123 property. That was all. There, in 1963, there were 2 easements obtained, one by the state of Ohio and one by Delaware County. After a careful review, I've concluded that the area of the ravine is probably covered by the easement. However, there was never an easement acquired for the bending of the roadway south across the 123 Hyatt's Road property. It's a 10-acre parcel. This clipped what would be the northeast corner of that property. Never acquired, nothing of record. I went back and searched all of our title records. I've searched the records at the county, and unless somebody can show me something different, it was never acquired. If there's not an easement in place, then the easement for access does not exist. So that's the point and this is, my clients raised this before in our recent negotiations with the county for moving to the south for the widening of Hyatt's Road. We brought this to their attention, and it never became an issue because the last 2 times this matter's come up with the vacation of Old Hyatt's Road through the ATT property, it was denied. And again, my client has no objections to their plan, no objections to the vacation in their right-of-way. My clients don't believe they can have access out onto the roadway through her property because there is no easement over that property. There's a roadway there, but nobody ever acquired an easement. And I would be happy to meet with the county people and discuss it with them. And you know, again, we're not trying to delay this. We're anxiously awaiting all this work to be improved. I talked with Tiffany Mag this morning about the sewer lines, and I've talked with Delco Water about the water line extensions. We want these improvements to be made. We're going to be neighbors. my client's going to be neighbors with these people. They presented a good plan, they sent it to us, we never appeared at a public hearing in objection to their plan. And so, you know, it's not meant as a mean-spirited thing. My clients believe that they're entitled to protect their property rights, and since there is no easement, there's no right to come across the property for any purpose. The roadway that's still being left in place is all north of, at least according to the maps, is all north of 123 Hyatt's Road.
Okay, let me see if anyone else has some more information. I believe I will ask our attorney, Eric.
Do you have any specific questions?
Just a clarification of what Mr. Shade said. Is that what you had found too?
Without reviewing what Mr. Shade has provided, you referenced a date of 1955, and what I was able to discover is that in 1955, the two properties to the south, properties owned by Mr. Shade's client, the one to the west was owned by a Caldwell family, and they provided an easement to the county in 1955, and they were compensated $800. The property to the east, the one currently owned by Hyatt's Columbus Pike LLC, was owned by a William Moford, and they also provided an easement. Those are both of record in 1955. I don't have copies of them with me, so I don't have the ability to compare them to what Mr. Shade found, but that is what I discovered, is that there were actually two easements of record in 1955 to the county by those two property owners for specifically Hyatt's Road. And in the case of the Caldwell property in 1955, that is the specific property through which AAT would be accessing Hyatt's Road, and they were compensated $800 for that easement.
But the other property we weren't able to determine?
I was not able to find a specific payment, but they did sign the deed, and it states for good and valuable consideration, as all of our deeds do.
So you don't know if it's donated or purchased? We don't know.
I don't know. But that is not, that property owned by the Mofort family in 1955 is not the property through which the access would be going.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it would not be going, the suggested access would not be going through that property?
Correct. The one that it would be going through is the one that I found specific approval for compensation of $800.
Okay. $800 in 1955.
Which I,
Okay.
Without doing between $7,000 and $8,000 in inflation. I'm not sure exactly what it is.
I'd like to hear Shade.
Oh,
okay.
yes. Thank you. Just state your name again. We're on audio.
Sure, thank you. Connie Klima, representing the owners of AAT property. The issue that Mr. Shade is bringing up is an issue about what is currently in the right-of-way as mapped by your county engineers. It is what is driven on every day by people coming and going from Route 23, east or west. If in fact you would state that, or consider that you wouldn't want to vacate a portion of property solely on AAT property because of Mr. Shade's concerns that he believes that a portion of the road was never actually taken or given by his client, then you would probably have to close Hyatt's Road because everyone's driving there right now. This objection is something that should be taken care of within the engineer's office and Mr. Shade's clients. This is not about, this is basically saying a portion of your public right-of-way is incorrect on the maps, as it's been for years, and that everyone driving on this road should stop because they're actually going over a piece of property that Mrs. Hook and her family's trusts never actually got compensated for. Our vacation does not affect that portion of the property. It will continue and remains in your maps as public right-of-way. It will continue to have pavement on it. It has road improvements, and all of your engineering plans for the new improvements are based off that right-of-way plan. Our clients, just like everybody else along that roadway, relies on where that roadway is to be a road and to be used by the public. Mr. Shade said in the prior hearing that he actually had come to us and discussed with us a purchase of that property. What I was alarmed at when I listened to this was what had happened is there's an actual slight area of 9 feet width outside of a new right-of-way that's on the north portion as it extends to the east. That is not in the public right-of-way according to your maps. That little sliver of 9 feet at our southern border divides us from that curved area and Hyatt's Road. So we had actually said that 9-foot strip we were interested in buying. That was it. We don't need to buy what's in the right-of-way because it's already a public right to use it. Mr. Shade reported back to us late last year that his client wanted a large amount of money, but we would have to buy this little section that's in the right-of-way. And we were opposed to that. We don't want to spend money on the public right-of-way that's already either been compensated for or given from the prior property owner. So what I would like to say is it seems to be out of place and not the right place, basically, to be making this argument. Mr. Shade's clients last said to us that this portion of the property would have to be purchased by us or they would not sell us that little 9-foot strip, and we basically have not made any action on that because we're not going to buy something that's already part of Hyatt's Road when we already have a right to access it. Now, let's say you would go ahead and vacate our portion of the road, and Mr. Shade would meet with county engineers and they'd say, oh my goodness, we didn't realize the last 20, 30 years everybody's been using this roadway and our maps are incorrect. We're going to have to compensate the Hooks for this property, then so be it. That doesn't affect us because I don't believe they're going to close down the road and say that people along Hyatt's Road can no longer go there because a part of it was not compensated for. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Belgerman.
I have a statement and then a question. I hope Mike can clarify, because I'm not sure I fully understand what's the issue that's being raised. But first, I don't think there's any question that Hyatt's Road is a public road. It's there, it's being used, it's been continuously used for 75 plus years, maybe 100 years. So let's not debate whether there's a public road there or not. There are roads all over the county that I could show you that are public roads that we don't have a record of the road right away. That's happened for a number of reasons over time. I don't know if that's true in this case or not. But I have no doubt that Hyatt's Road is there and it's a public road. And it has the right to be used and treated as a public roadway. But secondly, I'm trying to understand your client's, you and your client's objection to this, because I'm not sure how the vacation of this dead-end portion of Hyatt's Road is affected by or is a concern to your property. Because I think in my mind, there are two different issues, but maybe they're not. I'm trying to understand that, Mike. So if you could help me know how the vacation of this dead-end section changes the facts that you've raised. I'm simply trying. I'm not raising that as a rhetorical, antagonistic question. I don't understand what the objection is.
Michael Shade. As I indicated at the very beginning, within the ATT property, we have no problems with the vacation. When you look at the maps and the curvature of Old Hyatt's Road as it came up through the ATT property, it never touched the 123 property, 123 Hyatt's Road property. And they have, all that was done for a public purpose. That road existed, the old road existed for a public purpose. I trust Chris Bowserman, I trust his staff, that they are not going to be before you on a vacation of a roadway that no longer serves any purpose. I can only think, my client can only think of a couple times where people have had to use it when there were some traffic incidences along that roadway where they had to come up through the ATT property. But that would be a very de minimis number, and that's not worthy of holding up this project or holding up the right-of-way, the vacation of that right-of-way. However, when you come across property and you have there has been an easement granted, and the only easement that I could find that covered the 1, 2, 3 property was an easement in, I believe, 1963. Mrs. Hook's parents acquired the property in 1956. In 1959, Judy's mother acquired the property from her mother. Her mother acquired it, and then some later date, Judy acquired the property from her mother. There were 2 easements. There were 2 easements, other than the 5-foot easement that was granted, and I've got a copy of it, and it was from Naomi Dempsey to Delaware County, and it was for 5 feet on the south side of the existing roadway. If you look at the county's map, the county engineering map, on the area that they have planned for the improvements along what would be the area moving out to 23 from 123 Hyatt's Road, that property, it covers most of the ravine, but everything east of there over to, and the old alignment, you can see the lines of the old alignment of Hyatt's Road, and it never touched the 123 property. The 123 property, they show an access having been done, but no easement ever being acquired for that. And I'm interested in getting a copy of the information that the county attorney presented today to clarify this. We're not trying to make a big argument out of this. I'm here to protect my client's rights and my client's property. And if there's been something that was in the shortfall, but when I look at the people that were in ownership in 1908, those were different people than even during these easements. And that is correct. Mr. Moffett and his wife granted easements, but that was on the Hyatt's Columbus Pike property, not on the property that, and my clients acquired it my client's mother and father acquired the property in 1956, and they acquired the property from a family named Trees, Trees. And the record, we've searched the records numerous times, and on both properties, and none of these come up. And in fact, the only easement that shows up is the same easement that showed up for the 123 property showed up for the Hyatt's Columbus Pike property. So it just needs clarification. Like I said, I'm willing to work with the county engineer's office to clarify this. But we can't find that there was anything ever done on this property within the title, and we're required to go back from, in this case, we went all the way back. We could not find any easements that were referred to by the county engineer, but I didn't perform the title, so I'm more than anxious to find that out.
So you're saying that your client's property is the 123 property south
It's
of Hyatt's Road?
Yes, my client's trust owns ECH Pathways LLC. That's the current owner in title of the 123 Hyatt's Road property. The Hyatt's Columbus Pike property is everything from the east line of the ECH property out to 23. It comes in a funny configuration off of what used to be the old Midway Restaurant property. On the north side, where the old Hyatt's Road existed, that's 124 Hyatt's Road, that's under, and 130 Hyatt's Road, those are currently under the ownership of Jaguar Resources LLC. So those, but all are held, all of them are held with a single member and the Judith D. Hook, trustee of the Judith D. Hook Revocable Trust.
So you're saying there is property, though, on both the north and the south side that your client still owns?
Yes, and like I said, we worked with Rob Riley, and we worked with Chris Bowsman. They made themselves available when we were dealing with the movement over to the south. But with regard, and I'm somewhat, I understand that, as Chris Bowsman said today, there is no longer a public purpose for the right-of-way through the ATT property. But in order to give a right to somebody to come across without an easement, because somebody acquire or build a road, but with nothing to show for it, I'd like to see that.
So what are you asking for, Mike?
Well, I think we need to clarify it. I'm not trying to hold up this hearing today. We can certainly deal with this, and I'm assuming my client, in protecting her interest, will be prepared to, if necessary, file lawsuits to protect her interest, if it is not made clearer than what we found in the public record. And that's all I'm doing here. All I'm doing here is protecting my client's rights and her property interest. And you know, she is an extremely generous person. She has, you know, she lets Orange Township use her Hyatt's Columbus Pike property for fire training. And throughout the community has been very generous. And when it comes to the extension of utilities,
Our problem is that we're supposed to rule on something, and unless we know, I mean,
I think we, you know, I'm not trying to hold up. I'm trying to get the answers. I'm not trying to hold up, but they're going to be held up enough, as my client is now being held up because of the road improvements and those having had to be delayed. My client fully understands the reasons why was delayed, and in fairness, Chris Bowsman's office and Rob Riley kept me duly informed, and I've kept my client duly informed, and it looks like that may be sometime next year before that's all completed, as is Tiffany Mag keeps us constantly informed, as Mike Fromer before her kept us informed on that, so.
Can we have Chris come back up?
Sure.
Mr. Bossman, this issue about the easement, whether it exists or doesn't exist, I have a question. Eric, you may want to weigh in on this as well. The question is, we're not going to be able to determine that today, I don't believe, and we're certainly not attorneys up here. So I'm talking out loud so you two can kind of clarify. If the issue is vacating this piece of property, there doesn't seem to be an objection to that. The question then becomes whether or not there's an easement that they can cross at some future date, which is a legal issue, and ultimately we as commissioners will have a right to vote on whether to allow that, crossing that easement, yes or no? Once we determine whether it exists or not.
This is a county road, and so you're correct. If there's to be an access to that road established at some future date, the county would approve that, or would need to approve that.
We'd have the option to approve or disapprove.
Correct. The issue of whether there is an easement for the road as depicted on the county engineer's plans that they've provided is something that you should take into consideration for this vacation, because you do not want to approve a vacation that landlocks any parcel. And so to that extent, it is important for you to have that information before you make your decision.
But if we approve the vacation, we do landlock.
Not as I see it.
Okay.
Because in order to be landlocked, you need to have no road frontage, and they would have road frontage if the engineer's maps are correct.
Let me make sure I understand. I think what you said is if we approve the vacation, then that parcel becomes landlocked?
If they don't have road frontage, yes.
Yeah, but
I mean,
they-
they have road frontage on 23, but that's limited access.
Right,
You
right.
do not want to approve a vacation that leaves a property landlocked, because then what you've done is you've either put the county in a position of having to acquire additional right-of-way, or you've put the property owner at a disadvantage, because then they need to compensate another property owner to get access to the road. So based on all of the facts that the engineer has provided, that is not the case. This vacation would not leave that property landlocked, because they would still have access to Hyatt's Road, because the road would still abut their property. And that's why this is an important issue. Wherever that road right-of-way line is, that's the road. And anybody that abuts the road has a right to access it. And that's what Ms. Klima is talking about. So even though that property owner underlying the road might still own that fee right in the property underlying that easement constitutes the road. And if anybody abuts that road, even though the underlying owner is somebody else, they have a right to access the road. So based on the maps that I've seen, this vacation would not landlock the AAT property. But if that's not true, you should know that before you take any action. Unfortunately, if you don't take action by tomorrow, this becomes official no matter what.
Yeah, so there is certainly questions about the access.
Whether there was an easement acquired or not, the public road is there. I've heard no objection to that, and the county engineer has testified that that is the public road. If there was never any easement recorded that matches up 100% with this, there is still an easement there. It's a prescriptive easement based on how long the road has been there and occupied, used for public use. There's an easement there, whether it's recorded or not.
But you're saying we should wait?
No, I'm not saying.
Any comments, Mr.
Yes,
Bowser?
I do not believe that anything that's before you today, if you grant the prayer, the petition to vacate, would create a landlocked parcel or would restrict access to Hyatt's Road. That's my opinion. And I think it's important also for you to note, if you look at the exhibit, there's a triangular-shaped piece of property that the right-of-way goes across on our map. That is the AAT, current AAT property. Come point that out to you.
Yeah, I better point it out to us.
So if you look here, upside down. I was actually looking at this.
Oh, okay, sure.
More helpful. But this piece right here of existing Hyatt's Road, also, it's on the AT property. So it would, for this to create a landlocked situation, would be the result of the extraordinary circumstance where AA&T said to you that that's not a public right-of-way, and therefore we can't take access to it. I don't know why they would argue that.
Yeah.
So, but this piece of Hyatt's Road that apparently that Mr. Shades raised a question about is actually, part of that is on the AAT property. So I don't see how there's a legal frontage access issue created by that. Does that make sense?
Yes, I see what you're saying.
So without a Without an issue, in my mind, there's not an issue of access. If there's an issue of whether there's a right-of-way across Mr. Shade's client's property or not, and they'd like to seek resolution of that, I'm wide open to that. I'd be glad to meet with you anytime and talk about that. Mike and I have a good relationship, and I respect him immensely. And so I'll be glad to make myself available at my earliest convenience to do that. But
Okay.
I don't see how that issue affects the decision that's before you today.
So then if there
That's my
would
opinion.
be a problem with that, then obviously you would,
It's a separate issue, I think, that
Okay, you would-
between the county and his
you
client,
and
that I'd be glad to help
Mr.
work
Shade
out.
would work
And this
that
ultimately would
out.
come back in front of us, correct?
If there's resolution needed, if we determine that the existing easements are what we've depicted here, there wouldn't be
Okay.
any reason for us to come back before you. If there's some remedy that's necessary, that would be a real estate transaction that would need to come back before you.
Okay.
That's my opinion. Eric, am I correct in that?
Yes, that's correct, and using the, I wish we had this so we could all see
I do
what
too.
we're
Yeah,
talking
We
about.
should, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some question as to where the actual right-of-way is, but there's no doubt that it comes to a point at or within the current pavement, which I assure you is right-of-way. There's no doubt in my mind that the pavement is right-of-way. Where it extends beyond that for proper drainage and, additional, width beyond the pavement, that's, if there's no easement that has been granted and is of record, that's where a court would be looking to determine where is the actual right-of-way line, but the pavement is, I assure you, within the right-of-way, whether there's an easement of record or not. That's very clear. And since the AAT property does come to a point, I can't really tell where, but if the engineer is saying that's at or within the pavement, then he's correct. You don't have any concern about it being landlocked, even if you vacate. What's being requested, that is.
Okay.
And that's why you asked me whether you should wait, and that's why I don't think you should wait.
Okay.
Mike, could you come back up a second? You understand the
Yep,
quandary we're
I
in.
fully understand. They believe that the pavement, when you look at the old roadway and the curvature of the roadway out to, everything was above the 123 property. Everything was on 124 or on ATT properties. It never crossed over. There was never that connectivity. And I'm happy, there's no person, in fact, I think Connie Klima and I have worked on other matters together. I hold her in the highest regard and greatest respect. I've worked with Eric on a number of matters, hold him in the highest regard. And that also goes true for the county engineer and for his assistant and his entire staff. I work with them on a regular basis, and we get first-class service all the time. So I'm willing to hear more. I'm willing to, all I have is the documents that I have, and that's all I can rely on in presenting my client's position. And if it proves that I am incorrect, I don't mind admitting that I was incorrect.
But this doesn't really affect us vacating the road.
I don't think so, because you can only vacate up to their property line. You
Separate
cannot,
issue.
Yeah.
we were never asked, my client was never asked to join on the vacation because that was never something that was contemplated. All we were told is that the vacation, at least the drawings we saw, that were provided by your offices, was that it was all going to be on the ATT property and not be on the 123 Heights Road property. We can't object to something that doesn't affect my clients, but when they come across that line, that's when my client believes her interest is being impacted. And again, I'll be happy to sit down with the people at the county engineer's office and also with Eric and see if I can get the documents that he has and see if that renders some additional clarification. It is not our purpose to hold up these people in doing their development. They're going to be held up enough as we go through the throes of the improvements on Hyatt's Road and the running of various utilities and stuff like that. And I want you to know that in the past, Al Coughlin, who is the managing member of the ATT property, you know, he was very cooperative in granting the easements that's going to help with the location of the sewer lines to service into Berlin Township, Orange Township. All that was, everybody worked together to get that done. Their project couldn't move forward without that getting done. So, nor can my clients' improvements on 124 and 130 could not have been done without everybody cooperating. And it did not cost 1 penny to Delaware County for any of those easements. None.
Okay. Eric, any final words?
No.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Okay. So if we go ahead and pass the vacation today, then you will be working with the county engineer's office. If there is any problem then, then we will hear any remedy.
It was my understanding at the last meeting, as Mr. Riley, maybe I should back up.
Oh,
Mr.
sorry.
Riley,
Yeah.
indicated at the last meeting that the final details of the access point from ATT property on has not been approved yet by the county engineer's office. So
Okay.
those are details that they have to work out the drainage issues, all those kinds of things, and that'll be a matter of due course.
So
Okay,
again, my
thank
comment, the vacation of this property seems to be, at least in my mind, independent of the other issue. And from this view of this commissioner, there is a concern about equity. I'd like to think these two property owners can get together and figure this out with the support and help of our county engineer, because I do have some concerns. But I am able, I think in my own mind, to separate it today.
And we can,
But
First, you need to vote to close the hearing.
Yes,
and then-
we
hearing
need to,
first.
vote to close the hearing. I'm sorry, Commissioner
Well, I
Ray,
just-
anything else?
Chris, anything I say bother you? Does that seem appropriate? Don't be bashful.
I won't be, you know me, but no, you didn't say anything to bother me, and
Okay.
I think everything you said is appropriate. I agree that they are separate issues.
Okay. Could read the closing of the hearing.
Resolution number 19-398, in the matter of closing the public hearing for consideration of petition from the Board of Berlin Township Trustees requesting vacation of Township Road 123A in Berlin Township, Delaware County, Ohio, under the special procedures of Revised Code 5553.045.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-398. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. Okay, if you would read the motion then granting the vacation.
Resolution number 19-399, in the matter of granting the petition from the Board of Berlin Township Trustees requesting vacation of Township Road 123A in Berlin Township, Delaware County, Ohio, under the special procedures of Revised Code 5553.045.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Vote.
Well,
Go ahead.
yeah, I guess I think we've identified this as really two issues. The vacation first, and it seems like there is no real objection to the vacation, but there are a lot of questions about the complex legal issues surrounding the easements and the road access, and that's where I get a little fuzzy, because I am not an attorney, and this is a complicated issue. But the vacation seems to be fairly straightforward. And I guess I'd like to just say also that this area, not just these properties, these parcels, but the whole area is undergoing some very important transformation. And I really appreciate all the parties involved having worked together and worked very well together to get the sewer lines in place and fix the road, and this area really needs a lot of work, and the work is in progress, and it's really nice to see that area get fixed, if you will. And it also allows for significant development on the east side of 23, both in Berlin and Orange Townships, which is very important. So again, I think the vacation, again, to me, seems fairly straightforward, and the legal issues surrounding the access and the easements need to be resolved, and it sounds like we've got the right people to committed to talking about it and figuring out a way to make it work. So I guess again, thanks to everyone for working on this. This is an area that needs work and needs, in the big picture of the county, this is one of those areas that really needs to be fixed. And
Yes.
we're making real progress with it, so I want to thank everyone for that. So anyway, again, I'm going to support granting the vacation.
Yes.
The only thing I'd add, protecting property rights is always, this is particularly challenging here because there's it's a matter of perspective to some degree, and we don't have a lot of the information we need, but it is my hope that the two property owners can get together and work this out. And if not, then, well, I guess we'll deal with it down the road. So I really have nothing else to add, and
No? I agree. I appreciate the willingness of the different property owners to work together, and I also support the vacation, though. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-399. Mr. Merrill?
aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
This hearing, we've already closed.
We've already closed the hearing, and
Great.
you've
Okay.
granted the vacation.
We are done with the hearing.
Yes, so that,
Continue with
Yes.
our regular session. Thank you, everybody.
Mr. Farrar?
Commissioner?
Yep. Commissioners, I have two things. First, on Wednesday at 1 o'clock, we have our next meeting for the Pre-Hospital Care Board meeting, Advisory Board. That'll be this Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And then on Wednesday at 3:30, Tiffany, Chris Bowserman, Rob Riley, myself will be going to BIA for a Builders Council roundtable. So we thought we'd make ourselves all available to answer questions to all the developers. I think they had to switch locations because they had so many people coming, right, Tiffany?
Where is their new office?
It's in Crosswoods, but I think they need a new conference space. So, but anyway, that's all I have to
Okay.
report, so.
Well, Commissioner Merrill.
Back from vacation.
I know, yeah.
So I had
Yeah.
a light week, but I did get a phone call this morning that I did want to mention. Jesse Williams with the License Bureau called me. We'd had conversations about a year ago when we had a parking issue up there, so
Oh, yes.
he knew me and he gave me a call. He just wanted to compliment Larry Dowis, I think it is, the painter who painted what a great job he did, and I said in session I'd be happy to mention that, so congrats to Larry, working for the county, and that's a leased property there, and that they went in and repainted, and he was very complimentary of the professionalism and the work that was done, so
Great. Good job by Larry.
good job, Larry. That's all I have.
Okay. Commissioner Benton.
Just a couple things. We had a Subco annual meeting, board retreat, or not annual, board retreat, Thursday and Friday, and there's a lot going on at Subco. The new Subco 2.0, different version of health insurance available for counties is being considered, and there's some other changes and so on. So, but the Subco organization is in extremely strong financial position. Their risk-based capital is in excess of 900%, and 300% is considered kind of the threshold of
Really?
of
Oh, my gosh.
being good. And so they're way, way above that, and they've got a whole bunch of plans on ways to, improve the claims process and so on. So again, very, very good news out of Subco, good leadership. A couple of reports actually came out this week, a couple annual reports. The coroner's annual report came out, and it was mostly kind of continuation of the same, except for the opioid deaths. We had a significant increase in opioid deaths, overdose deaths last year. from 13 to 16, 2013 to 2016, we averaged about 14 overdose deaths. And then in 2017, we went to 24. 2018, we went to 29. The increase was exclusively because of fentanyl-related deaths. So, again, we're certainly not immune. There's a lot of people working in a lot of different ways to address it, but it is not solved yet at this point. And it is something we all need to continue to work on, because that level of increase is not good. The Regional Planning Commission produced their annual report last year with some very interesting numbers in it. I would ask you, this is a quiz, who had the most housing permits, new housing permits issued last year? Which township?
I think it was, must have been Berkshire.
She cheated. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed Berkshire, but it was Berkshire Township.
Yeah.
Well, with
Yeah, I
the
wouldn't have
developer
either.
north of 36,
Right,
if you think about it.
Yeah, but with all the development going on in Berlin and Orange and Genoa and Liberty, you would have, that would have been my
Yeah, I
first
might have
choice.
said Berlin, actually.
But Berkshire had 269 new housing permits.
question you had?
The county had 1,783 total, so that's about what we've been running in that 16, 17, 18, 1,900 range. Population at the end of 18 was estimated at 208,000.
Oh, 8? Okay.
Yeah, so it continues to climb. We've got 1,576 ready-to-build lots, and then we've got 8,000 lots in pipeline, for development. So it's coming. There's a lot more coming.
No problem in residential development.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's all I got.
That's great.
Some interesting stuff.
That's great. I went to Delaware County Regional Planning, and they moved the meeting across to the Hayes Building from our fishbowl room here because we needed more room. And it worked well across the street. So, and then I went to, it was just great, the 40th anniversary concert of the Central Ohio Symphony. And it was a fantastic program. One of the most interesting parts was Frank Ruggles, who actually has been recognized as a Hall of Famer from Delaware Hayes High School, and now probably the premier photographer in the country of national parks. He was with the National Park Service for over, I think it was over 20 years, and then is now working, he actually left the Park Service after his tenure, but then he is still photographing and national parks for the Park Service. So his photography was blended with local music from two different composers, and they put it all together, and Jaime Morales Matos, the music director for the symphony, did a great job, as did Frank, was working the photos in the background, and Jaime Morales Matos was doing the orchestra. It was just amazing, all on a big screen, and I can't say enough about the symphony, and Warren Heyer, our the executive director for the symphony too, had come up with this idea, and we're going to hear a lot more about it. There was an article in the Dispatch before the concert, and I'm sure there's going to be something mentioned both in the Gazette and the Dispatch and on social media.
They are really good.
They are
over 40 years. It's amazing.
It is.
They're really high quality.
They're great. So, okay, we do have need for executive
We
session.
do. Resolution number 19-400, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of employment and compensation of a public employer or public official and for collective bargaining.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-400. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. We are now recessed into executive session.
There's a
Boy, that hearing took a long.
Resolution number 19-401, in the matter of adjourning out of executive session.
So moved.
Second discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-401. Mr. Merrill is absent. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. We are now adjourned.